How's it going, everyone? In today's project, we're going to create a Blackjack game using Vite with React and Tailwind CSS. The project will consist of having a automatic loader dealing 3 cards, 2 to the player, 1 to the dealer, and then we can either decide to hit and lose, as you can see already, or to stand and see what the dealer gets as cards. So if you like this project, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and also click that notification bell in order to get notified when I post new projects like this, tech news on my podcast, or new course releases, and of course, updates for those courses. So with this being said, I'm Norbert BM. Let's get started with the code. Alright, so I have here Visual Studio Code started, I have an empty folder, and within here, we're going to start the terminal, command tilde or control tilde on APC. And let's start by installing Vite, npm create Vite at latest, and then let's call this Blackjack, then template, and React, of course. Let's hit enter, let's hit OK. Now let's cd into our project, so cd, tab, and it's going to show the first folder that is open, and from here we're going to npm install -d or Tailwind CSS and install it as a dependency. So Tailwind CSS. And we're also going to install post CSS and auto prefix, of course, prefixer. Okay, let's also open this up here. Let's see everything that we got there. Next, let's create our little Tailwind setup. So we're going to npx and Tailwind CSS, then init-p. And we should get our post configuration and our Tailwind configuration. Now within here, we're going to just add where everything is going to be installed. So we're going to send within the content, we're going to send everything to the index.html, then to the source dot and js, and it's going to just watch what kind of files we're going to have here in the source. Now, okay, it's going to be this app.jsx. Okay, now for our app CSS, I'm going to delete everything that is in here and copy in our Tailwind CSS, and then just go down to the terminal and hit npm run dev for our development server. Okay, so this should start on localhost 5173. We're going to just hold down control and click on this. And there we go. There's our little project. Click on that. Okay, let's also try it out. Let's go to our app. Delete everything that we have here in our div. I'm going to leave that div in there. Now you know what? I'm going to delete everything and change this to a div. Okay, let's add here an h1 with a class of text -x for XL, then dot for another class of text -center, so we're already using Tailwind CSS, and then dot for another class of mb-4, and let's also add some text because we can't see anything. So right within here, going to call this Black and Jack, and you should already see this. Perfect. Let me take a look in our index. We don't need this file, so I'm going to just delete it. All right, we're going to close up our config, our main.js, our app CSS. We're not going to touch that anymore. And let's get started with our game. So first thing that we're going to do is change the background color here and also give this a general container class. So the main div, here class of container, and then mx auto in order to set the margins to auto on the x-axis, and a padding, all around padding of 4 rem. Okay, so this is pushed now to the center. And I'm going to add here a bg-slate and let's say 700. Now let's also set the height and the width of the viewport to screen. Is going to be, first of all, the height. I'm going to set the screen and the width. And there we go. Okay, now that we have everything set up, I need to change the slate here to 900 because this was much darker, as you can see in the finished project. And I also used React, simple React for the project because this is going to be included in the React course that I have, but in a completely different version. So, okay, we're going to also delete these 2 fellows up here for the import, and let's create our state for the game. So we have here count. We're going to, of course, change it, but let's do here to do and create game states because they're multiple. So first one is going to be the game deck, and then set game deck. Now, what this is going to do, going to bring in the deck. Now the deck is the deck of cards. Normally it has 52 cards, if I'm not mistaken, one deck. So we're going to create a card combination and push it in here. But first let's set set this to nothing for starters. And now let's create the card deck. So for this, we're going to go here into assets and create a new file. Let's call this card and deck and .js. Now I'm going to use the 4 signs for the cards. So the heart, the spade, and so forth and so on. Of course, you can find the entire code down in the video description on my blog. You can just copy in these from there because I don't think you have this on your keyboard. And you can also search for them on the internet, but you can just get them from me. And next, and then within this array, we're just going to have from 2 to 10 numbers, and then J, Q, K, and A for our ranks. Okay. Now for the combination, because we need to create here now combinations between these little fellows, and I'm just going to create now here a const. We're going to call it combinations and set this to suits. We're going to take the suits and combine them using float map and pass in here the suits for suit. And then for each suit, we're going to rank, loop over them using a map method. And then for each rank, of course, we're just going to add a suit. So at the end of the day, we need here to return an object with suit and rank. Okay. And now we're just going to export this little fellow right here. So export our combinations. Perfect. And they should be in curly brackets, of course, because we're exporting a function. Okay, close this up. Now we can bring this. That's all that we need from the deck. So we're going to take this array. So in JavaScript terms, this array, combine it with this array, and we're going to export this combination then and import it here. So import our combinations from our assets, and then assets, and then we're going to have in our assets, and from our assets, we're going to draw out the card deck. Okay, so we should already see this. Oh yeah, and by the way, I forgot to delete the index CSS for our main here, so please delete it and then go back and add a text color to your slate. After the slate here, text of white. Okay, so we have this one back. Now for our combinations, let's bring them in. So import combinations, and we're going to import this from our assets. So dot and / assets, and then / deck, card deck, that is. Okay, so we have our combinations brought in. Let's also use it now here in our state. And now let's just do a simple console log here, and let's console log our game deck. Open up the console. Let's also hit save, inspect, and we should see like this. We should see now here a array, refresh, a array of 52 cards. Okay, so it's got a suit. This is the example, the heart of 2 and heart of 3, heart of 4, and so forth and so on. Is going to have all of the combinations. There are 52 combinations, and very important, when we're going to loop over them and draw a random card, that card will be removed from the deck. And now there are 2 possibilities. You can also look up a couple of Blackjack rules, and do not start to gamble, for the love of Mike. But there are different ways you can play Blackjack. Basically, when the deck ends, then a new deck will be opened, or there are 2 decks, and if they're end, then a new deck will be opened, or the deck will be shuffled. That's the second version after each round. And this is what we are going to do. So we're not going to let this end, because we could let it end, but then it's a bit more complicated, you know, to do it in a game. So we're just going to reshuffle the deck after each and every hand, each and every game, meaning you cannot count the cards. Because basically you could know that, okay, if the queen of 8 is gone, then it's not going to come anymore. So there's no possibility that you're going to have it drawn in your second round. So we're going to close this up. So you got the idea. We just created here card deck. We added combinations between these 2 arrays, and then we brought it in here and set it to the state. Now let's create a function that's going to get a random card from the deck. So to do here, to do get random card from the deck. So const get random card from deck inside the scenario function, and call it here by first of all creating a variable for the index. So const and random index, which is going to be a math.floor, and we're going to pass in here now a math.random, initiate it, and then multiply it with the length of the deck. So game deck.length. Okay, so there's our index. Now we need to set it to a card. So const card I'm going to assign this to the game deck and pass in here the random index. So this is going to be the card. Now I'm going to create a new deck, const new deck, and we're going to filter out from the old deck, so game deck dot filter, and we're going to update it with the random index that we just draw. So let's first of all take out here the index and then send it in here by index, and if that index is not the same one that the random index, then we can now push our new card, our new deck to the state of the game. So set game deck, and we're going to push in here the new deck. So basically, whatever card we're going to draw here, we're going to remove it from the deck by setting or creating a new deck and passing in here as a state. So we were going to constantly update the game with a new deck because the card that was randomly chosen was removed from the deck. That's basically it. And now we're going to return here the deck, or the card, sorry. Okay, so I could just console log this function and have our console opened here. Let's see what we're going to get. So console log, we're going to console log the get random initiate function here. And as you can see, we're going to constantly get a new card. Okay, so let's take this out because we're also getting a couple of errors here. We're missing a couple of parts from the game. So we got our get random card. Next we need to set the state for the player hand and the dealer hand. So let's create here const. I'm going to call this player hand and then set player hand. I'm going to assign it to state. Use state of just an empty array. And we're going to do the same thing for the dealer hand. So just going to replace this with an A here, player. Okay, and now dealer hand, to be a capital D. And now I'm going to create two functions. First will be deal card to the player. So this is going to be one to do, and then deal card to the dealer. Okay, first of all, the player. So const deal card to player. I'm going to assign this to an arrow function. And again, we need to create a new hand. So const new hand. We're going to assign this to an array where we're going to, first of all, take the player hand and update it. So player hand, and then update it with the get random card function. So just pass in here the get random card from deck. Okay. Now we get to set the player hand to whatever this new card was. So new hand. Remember, this is just going to return a card. Now, because a new card was drawn, we need to know how much is it worth. So what is its value? Because we cannot exceed 21. So we need to calculate somehow the hand value. For this, we're going to create here first of all a const player value. And we're going to set this to a calculate hand value function, which is then going to take the new hand and pass it in here as an argument. So let's create a calculate hand value. Going to go down here, create a const, calculate hand value, pass it into an arrow function. The function is going to take the hand as an argument. Now let's do some math here. So let's initiate two values. First of all, the value, I'm going to set this to 0, and another variable let with accumulating values, A, C, E, count. Next, we're going to take the hand that's going to be passed in here, and we're going to loop over it using a for each method. And for each card that's going to be passed in here, you're now going to take a couple of factors into consideration. First of all, J, Q, and K are considered tens. Then a is an ace, which can be considered a 1 or a 11. And lastly, if nothing else will be considered, then we're just going to parse int the card that we're going to have in our hand. So just going to sum it up. So first of all, let's create here if statement, then a else if, open up, close else if, and lastly a else. Now for our if statement, if the card that's going to be passed into this function dot rank is triple equal to the type and value of J, capital G, or I'm just going to copy this, it's triple equal to Q, or it's triple equal, I don't need the last or, so I'm going to delete this, triple equal to K. So if these three are, just press save, if these three are correct, then the value is going to be plus equal a 10. Now else if the rank, we also need the card.rank is a ace, then we're going to accumulate to count a 1, and also the value will be then a 11. So addition 11. Now, last but not least, we're going to have a final. If nothing else from them is true, then the value is actually just a parse int of the card.rank. And I messed up somewhere. Let me just check really quickly. Else if, are we missing here a closing? Okay, so these are the possibilities. Next, we're going to do, after our for each, a while loop. So while the value is greater than 21, then we're going to a count less than 0, meaning that we're just going to take the value and subtract now from it a 10, and also the AC count is also -1. And let's return now the value, because this is why we're here, the value. Okay, so we got this out of the way. Now let's go back to our dealer hand, or with our deal card to player, and let's set here a condition that if the player value is greater than 21, well, then he should lose. So we're going to type in here comment handle game over. And else, if the player value is equal to 21, well, the player wins then. So again, we're going to handle this little fellow right here. Now let's create our dealer hand, or deal card to the dealer. And in Blackjack, as you can see in our finished project, we got here our hit, meaning we, the player, want a card, and we get our stand. So in this case, I have 20. Now these cards are dealt automatically at the start of the thing. I didn't see the point of creating here a deal cards and then 1, 2, 3 card will be dealt. And I'm just going to create this automatically. I'm going to create it in the React course then, because basically that's for more complex process. Okay, now if we stand, then the dealer is going to get the card. So if I click here stand, then the dealer is going to get all of the cards. I'm going to create any kind of animation. Also, you cannot stop it after that. It makes no sense to just click on stand, stand, stand. After it stands, and this is happening using use effect, it's going to get dealt all of the cards, and then resulting in a burst. As you can see here, he went over 21, and resulting in a player win situation. Also, the background and text depends on the situation of the handle game over, like that, game over. So let's create our player stand actually on this function. Well, because deal card to the dealer is that button right here, which is stand. So the player actually stands. We're going to create here a player and stand function, assign it to an arrow function. And let's now set game over, which we don't have right now. It is a state that we need to create here. So const state of game over, and then comma set game over. This is just going to be a state of false, because we need to set the game over so false when, well, the game is over. And this can only then happen when something in our rules will be implemented. So again, to set here in our player stand, set game over to true. The first thing, when we click on this, it's going to stop the game. Next, we're going to create a new hand. So const new hand. And just as we did here at the player, we're going to just set it, we're going to set it to the dealer hand in this case. We're going to update that array and get a random card. Now remember, as we got our random card from the player already, some cards are missing now from the deck. So we're going to get a different card. So now we're going to set the dealer hand to whatever the new card is, new hand. Now we need our dealer value. So const player value, again, the same thing. This is going to be the dealer value. We're going to calculate the hand value using the calculate hand value function. And then if the dealer value is over 21, again, we need to stop the game because someone just lost. So we're going to handle, again, here the game over situation. So let's go back to our project here and inspect. Go to the console. A couple of stuff is happening here. Let's clear the console. And right underneath our Blackjack here, create two buttons. One is going to be hit and the other one will be for stand. And let's implement here on click. And let's first of all call on deal card to player. And then for the second one, we're going to player stand. The stand. So we can click these two buttons. Nothing happens because we can't see anything. So what I'm going to do is here, into console log in our player stand, our dealer value, and up here in the hand of the player, we're going to console log our player value. Okay, so let's do a hit. I'm going to get 10. Then if I do another hit, I'm going to get 19. Probably, or certainly, we just got a 9. So we could also check this by just console logging also the player new hand. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh everything and do a hit. So 6 and nothing in here. Do another one. We got ourselves a 6 and a 9, and there together are 15. So this is always the sum. If I do a stand, I'm going to get for the dealer now a 10 and another stand, and probably it was a 7 because we got now 17. So I'm going to leave these two console logs in here, but comment them out. Okay, so hope you got the idea. Also do a refresh and close up the console. Okay, so you saw we have here handle game over. I think it's time to also implement this handle game over. So I'm just going to copy this, move down underneath for calculate handle value. And before the return of the project, we're going to create here a const with handle game over, assign it to an arrow function, and then just pass in here the result. Okay, so if you're asking yourself what the result is, well, we're going to create a state for the result. So let's go up and const result and then set result. Okay, use state, and we're going to set it to a array of checks with 2 key value pairs. First of all, the type of the result will be an empty string, and then we need the message from the result. Now think about it this way. Someone has to win, meaning then the type of the result will be a win or a loss. A win or a loss is, well, mostly for us, for the player. So we're going to just set here for the type, is it a player or a dealer? Or is it a draw? We could also have a draw. But we also need to disclose what that is. So we're going to have here a message for the disclosure. Now we can already jump into the deal card to player. And here where we have our handle game over, I'm going to comment this back in and pass in here the message if the player went over 21. That means that the type will be that the dealer wants. We're going to pass in here dealer of the result. And the message will be that the player went basically over 21, and that in Blackjack term means he burst or he busts. So player busts, and then meaning that the dealer wins. Now, if he is exactly at 21, remember we need to click for this to happen. We're also going to go to what happens if we got dealt these cards, we got a 10 and an ace, that results in 21. So for that case, I'm going to copy the messages again. We're going to have that the player won for the type, and the message will be that the player won, player wins. Okay, and we could also console log them if we want, but I want to move a bit faster. So let's go down here to the dealer now. If the dealer is above 21, we're going to have the same situation as here. And of course, then the player will win. So the type will be the player wins. And we're just going to replace this with dealer busts and the player wins. Now let's go back to a handle game over situation. So we're going to get the result. It's going to pass in here, be passed in here into the handle game over. And from here, we need to set now the game over to true. We're going to set results to whatever results are now, so to the result. And we're going to have a new game. So set new game. We're going to set this to true. Now let's go up to our state, and down here after result, we're going to const, open and close square brackets, and new game, and then set new game. Okay, let's use this here as a state of, first of all, false. Now, why is this new game important? Well, because if a new game is true or false, then we can't, because it didn't use our result. So let's also go down here and use our result. Basically, the result will be the message that is displayed here, as you can see. So hit OK, and this entire thing is the result. So let's also quickly take care of that. And also using our game over, this is going to be the perfect moment that, let's create a condition. So if game over is true, then we're going to open and close parentheses. Let's create here a div, open and close div. And within this div, we're going to have an h2 with the class of text-2xl. And here is where the message will, so the message will be displayed from our results, so result.message. And the type of the message will also come into play here and will manipulate the class. So let's do here a class name, and I'm going to pass this into curly brackets, then backticks, because we're going to use our variable of result and dot type here. So first of all, this is going to be a BG. Let me also show you this quickly. If we lose, it's going to be red, and if we win, it's going to be green. Okay, so let's just add here a text dash white, but with your condition, if the result dot type is triple equal to player, then we're going to have question mark, then we're going to have a bg dash green, and we're going to use here a green 600, and else we're going to have a bg, meaning the background will be red and 700. Okay, go back to our thing here. Now let's continue styling this. We need to now jump out of here, jump out of this curly brackets, the blue one, for me at least. Now let's change the font to bold. We're going to round out the edges with rounded and MD. We're going to push the text to the center, to a margin top of 4, and a padding on the y-axis of 2. Oh yeah, and I just realized that I set this to an array. Oh, gee. So no, this is not an array, it's a state. So we're passing here a object into the state. Okay, there we go. Take care of our little error here. Now, where does the new game come into play? First of all, you have to come into play here for the buttons, because we're missing one button, and that is the reset button. So for example, let me just do this for now. I'm going to pack these two fellows into parentheses. Oh, let's just do it another way. First of all, we're going to pack these two fellows into curly brackets, and we're going to ask into parentheses, and we're going to put them now in a open and close, not a div, but just nothing. You can also use here a div if you want, but you don't have it. Now let's say that if new game is false, then display me this, or new game state is as it is, then display me these two buttons. This means let's say if new game is true, display me these two buttons. So not true, so let's negate it. Now the two buttons are displayed. But if new game is then true, then it should actually display a reset button. So I'm going to change this to question mark and add here another possibility that if, open and close parenthesis, if a button, I'm going to copy one of them actually. If this is not true, then obviously you need to reset the game. So reset button should appear here, and it should have a reset game implemented here that we are going to create right now. So let's reset the game by creating a function. So we have our handle game over, but in order to reset the game, to do reset game. In order to reset the game needs to be over. So let's create a function const reset game, pass it into an arrow function, and we're going to reset everything. So we're going to set the player hand to an empty array. To use the setter from the state, we're going to reset the state. We're going to do the same thing from for the dealer hand. Dealer. We're going to set game over to true, to false again, because a new game will now start. We're going to reset the messages from our result. So set result, pass in here a object of type will be again nothing, empty string, and also the message will be a empty string. Now, of course, new game will be now set to false, and this is the most important part of them all. As I said, when we are finished with our card, we should reshuffle the deck, meaning we're going to set game deck again back to the combinations. Okay, so this is it for the game logic. Also, if you want to see the second button, I just need to change this. For now, here, you're going to see reset. Okay, so let's put the negation back in here. And it's time to create a couple of components. So let's start out with a button component. So in here, let's create assets, but new folder components. And first component will be the button.jsx to a RFC. I'm going to change this to a button. Now let's work on a couple of classes. And also in here, we're going to add, instead of this text, we're going to add children as a prop. So children, but not with a capital C. Okay, there we go. We don't need this up here. Don't need to import React. But this is going to now have children as a prop. Next, we're going to have here onClick event and send here a onClick from up here as a prop. And then now let's style it a bit with a couple of classes. So class name, we're going to first of all hit this because this is going to depend on what type of button it is. Is it a hit? Is it a stand? Is it a reset? So let's do here a BG, we'll close backticks, BG. And then depending on what we're going to pass in here, we're going to just add a BG color and also send it in as a prop into the component. And let's automatically assign this to 500. Oh, not here, not the children, but up here, dash 500. Now, as you can see here, if I have a hit or stun button, I'm going to have different colors. So that's what this is going to, that's why this is important. Okay, next we're going to set here the text to white. We're going to increase the font to medium. Now let's add a bit of padding on the x-axis by using px and 4-4 and py, which is going to be on the y-axis of 2. Let's trim down the edges using rounded. We're going to go here with the MD rounded. Oh, I'm sorry, LG, I meant LG. And then a shadow of MD, medium, and that's basically it. Okay, so let's start using our buttons. Let's go back to the app, also close up card deck. Instead of this, I'm going to use now a button component. Instead of all of them, just select them, and Control D, and then button. Now we need to import our button up here. Right here, we're going to import button, and we're going to import it from, of course, dot components, and we got only one component, that is the button. Now, you always see they have a bit of a shadow, but we still need to add to them a BG color of green for the first one. Let's also add here 500. Delete it from here. To the next one, we're going to add a red. And to the last one, we're going to add, let's also add a margin. Let's go back to the button component margin right of 2. Okay, so push it to the side. Now, let's style this. I'm going to add everything that is in here, so the entire new game stuff. I'm going to add it to a div with a class of flex, then dot justify and center, then a gap of 2 and a margin from the top of 4. Okay, I'm going to push everything into this div, so the entire button story here. Okay, also now if we click on hit, it's going to end the game at some point. So player burst, we didn't see why we burst. But the reset button now appeared, and if I click on reset, then these two fellows will appear again. I'll click on stand, and this button also works. Perfect. So let me do a last thing here on our results. I'm missing a bit of padding here. We have a game over, blah blah blah, result, text, so far and so on, margin from the top. I also want to have a padding on the y-axis of 4, and that's much better. Now, how about our hand here? We're missing something. We're missing the cards. Now let's work on the hands. So right after the button, I'm going to create here a div with a class of flex and justify around. And that's here. So justify around. And within here, we're going to have 2 hands. So hand 1 and hand 2. Pass them into div. So div and 1 and 2. Okay, so we can see our 2 hands. That's not correct. It should be like this. Okay, so there are 2 hands, meaning these 2 fellows. Now we need to create them. I'm going to work ourselves up or down. First of all, create the hand, which is again a component. So let's go ahead into our component, create new file hand.jsx rfc, that functional component. And first things first, let's create a hand. Now the hand will accept here a couple of props. We're going to be cards. We're going to add multiple cards. Then the title, so we know which player it is, and the hand value. This is very important. Now right here, our div is just going to have a all-around padding. So let's add a class name of p all around of 4. Then instead of hand, we're going to have here h2 with a class of text to XL, and then dot margin to the bottom of 2. For the title here, we're going to have our title, and then right after our title, get to a column here of hand value, meaning just here on a finished project, we're going to display the value of the hand, player's hand and dealer's hand. Now, right after h2, we're going to create another div with the class of display flex dot flex column and dot sm and flex row and dot gap dash 1. So let me just quickly explain this. So when we're going to start, we're going to display as flex and of course flex column, and everything that is above a small screen will be displayed as row. As you see here, displayed as column, but as soon as I over the minimum width of the SM display is going to be displayed as row. So we're going to do the same thing here. Now within our hand, we're going to have here a array of cards which are going to be brought in here. So cards dot map, and we're going to loop over each card, resulting in a card and a index, because we need the index in order to assign it as a key to here. When we're going to display now, open and close parentheses, a component of card that we need to create, we're going to assign it a key. There's going to be the index, and then the card itself, which is just going to be equal to the card from the map. Okay, so we have a bunch of errors, meaning that we need to bring in our cards here and also the card components. So let's import card component, which we don't have, from, and we're going to create within here a new card.jsx component rfc return card. Oops. And now this should be imported from card. So dot / and card. Okay, let's just say what do I have here? I'm missing something. Wait, so that one is open, that one is open. Arrow function. I didn't close it up. Okay, there we go. So let's bring in the hands in our app. Instead of these fellas, we're going to have a hand as a component. It is also brought it automatically in above. Didn't do it for you. And please be sure to import a hand. Now we're missing a couple of things here. The cards will be here, the player hand for the first one. Then the title will be within a string, player's hand. And we need here the hand value in order to display what he has. So player value. Now we don't have the player value. I'm going to create it just in a couple of seconds. Let me just also add the second hand, which is the dealer hand. Dealer, capital letter. And now I'm going to go above our return and create const player value, which is going to be calculate hand and player hand. And the same thing, for the dealer, which is just going to be here, dealer. Okay, so we got 0 and 0. If I do a hit, card is displayed. We can see the card for now. Another hit, 15, and stand, and we don't know what just happened because we're missing a couple of things. But this is working for now. Dealer hand, dealer value, player hand, player value. Now let's work on our card. Let's go into our card and let's add a couple of classes first of all. You know what? Let's add the values. Let's add our... This is going to accept here a card, and that card will have here a paragraph tag. We're going to have a class name of flex and justify to the end. It's going to have here from the card the rank, and then after that we're going to have a h1 with the class of text dash 6xl, and this is going to contain the card root. Okay, now for the div itself, we're going to add here a width of 24, then a height of 32. We're going to change the background to white, add a bit of border to it. And you know what? Let me just have here card display. Okay, so there's a card. We can't see anything. The text, let's change the text to slate and 800. Okay, now let's add a rounded border. So rounded and LG, a shadow of MD. We're going to display this as flex in a flex column for the flex direction. We're going to center the item, so item and center. We're going to justify items to the start, increase the text to XL, and let's add an animation. So we're going to use here animate. Now open and close square brackets, and let's change a bit the animation. I could just do animate pause, but I want to manipulate it a bit. So pause underscore 1 second and underscore ease dash in dash out. Okay, so if I get another card, then it should pause, I believe. No, it didn't. So animate pause Okay, there we go. Animate pulse, 1 second, easy now. So another card is going to pulse. Stand. Now, we have our cards, we have everything that we need. Just take a look at this little problem here. So hit, and then I went to also hit. And let's stand now. And as I said, if I click on stand, it's just going to give me a result, which is nothing. And also, the problem with the stand button is that I have to click it, and I don't want to do that. I want it to go automatically. So let's close everything that we have here, hand, button, so far and so on. Let's go to the game, and let's do a logic for what happens when the game starts and what happens if we click on stand. And for this, we're going to use effect. So let's bring in use effect. Let's go down here to the end. Let's do here to do. And let's say handle game logic at start and stand. So first things first, let's use here our use effect. And let's say the game starts. Oops, here, this, and I don't need you. Let's say the game starts. And the first condition will be that if the player hand dot length is 0, which it is when we start in the game, and the second condition is that the dealer hand dot length is also 0. This means that the game just started. So we're going to set now the player hand to, so the state, we're going to deal him 2 cards. So I'm going to get random card from deck, initiate the function here, and you know what? Because I need 2 cards, I'm going to initiate it 1 more time. Okay, and as soon as I hit save, you're going to see you're going to get 2 cards. Now we need also the dealer to have, actually, you have 2 cards, and the dealer has also 2 cards, but the 1 card is flipped over in reality. The dealer gets 2 cards, you're going to see 1 card from the dealer, and the other card is going to be flipped. But it doesn't really matter to do this right here, so I'm just going to also set now the dealer hand to the get random card from deck, and also initiate the function here. So the dealer also should, let me do here refresh, get the card. Perfect. Now our hand is 11 and the dealer hand is 12, so we can now either hit, get a new card, hit again, oh damn it, we burst, or damn it, 17 and or stand, and this is the next problem. So what happens if we stand? No, first of all, let's take care of something else. We only have the logic of winning if reset this, okay? So we have the logic of winning if we reach 21 by clicking on the hit button, which, try this. So there you go, no luck for me, but just trust me on this one. Okay, so there we go. So player wins because we reach 21. What if we would get 21 on a reset? So when the game, so a couple of refreshes here, 21, okay, you saw it. 21, but nothing happened. So this is where we need to again integrate that logic. Let's do here to do, and if player wins on first hand, which is 2 cards, 2 cards, the first 2 cards, the first cards. Okay, so here is to do, start the game and deal 2 cards to each, actually deal 3 cards, deal 3 cards. Okay, there are actually 2 cards, but whatever. You can't see the third card, so it is irrelevant. Now we need to, if the player wins on the first hand, the first 2 cards. So let's create a condition, pretty easy. If player, not hand, but value is triple equal to 21, so the number. Then we need to handle game over by setting the type of player, and of course the message will be then message player wins. Now we could use the same logic here also for, I'm going to copy this, for the dealer. So else if the dealer value is 21, then the dealer wins here, and we're going to change this to dealer wins. Okay, now let's take care of the stand button. So to do player stands. This needs to cascade in a couple of events. Also, let me close up the left part. We don't need it anymore. First of all, the condition. So if game over, because remember, if we click on stand, this is how we trigger this game over. Now, if this is true and the dealer and dot length, asking me what are you doing here? well, actually after 5 cards, it's kind of over. Someone has to win. So if these two are true, then a cascade of events will happen. We're going to use here switch statement. So switch. We're going to say that if this is true, then we're going to have a couple of cases. First case is player value is 21. Then obviously, not semicolon, but column. Then the result, set result, will be to type player. Again, it's exactly as up here. And paste it in here. The player wins. And break. Next one. Copy. Just going to copy this. Paste it in here. If the player went over 21, then the dealer wins. Copy and paste in dealer. The player busts. And of course, dealer wins. The next case is a bit interesting. It's if the dealer, the dealer value, is less than the player's value. Meaning that after the dealer draw 5 cards, this is why this is important, but the value of those 5 cards is less than the value of the player's 5 cards, then the player stands. The next case, I'm going to copy this one. If the dealer value is equal to the player value and the dealer hand dot length is less than 5. In this case, we're going to set the results that this is empty, no one wins, and it is a draw. And we're going to set new game true. You need to restart the game. The next case is when the dealer value is greater than the player value and the dealer value, change this, the dealer value is less or equal to 21. Then of course the dealer, you see it's already draw because this is greater than this. The dealer wins and here dealer wins. Okay, and then we're going to have default and break. Now, these conditions still depend on resetting our use state by the player hand, the dealer hand, and the game over. So let's play. 16, 10. Hit, player bursts, went over, dealer wins. Reset. Automatic win. Check it out. 21. Player wins. Reset. 9, 11. Let's hit. Ooh. And we burst. Again. 15. Let's stand. Dealer wins. He went over. He reached something higher that we have and he automatically wins. Okay, let's do again. Let's do a hit. 16. 20. Let's stand. And he bursted after this real fellow right here. Okay, 16. Let's hit. Player wins. 21. So as you can see, we have all of our cases actually covered and player bursts. Okay, that's it for the game. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. If you did, share, like, and subscribe. Remember to click that notification bell in order to get notified when I post new videos, new projects. On my podcast, I post news updates, weekly code quickies, as you know, and click the notification bell in order to get notified again. So with this being said, I'm NorbitBN wishing you happy coding. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.